what is one single metric that you're going to look to and say, we nailed year one of AC Boise?
Yeah, I don't have any problem saying this. It's winning. Like we need to win. I have no problem going on record of saying this. I've said that all along. I wouldn't have made this move in my life, leaving MLS to go to a club that wasn't extremely serious.
Hello, welcome to the United Soccer Lounge. My name is Riley James. A great off-season show for you today. Nate Miller stops by the program. The former manager of the San Diego Loyal is now in charge of the USL League One expansion franchise, Athletic Club Boise. We talk about roster construction, lessons from both Lansing and San Diego, his style of play and how he plans to implement that for the folks in Boise, and plenty more on today's episode. Thank you so much for watching the show. You can find us all over the place. Goals.tv, just search the United Soccer Lounge, and we're available on YouTube. Please subscribe to the channel to get more USL content and plenty of other great shows on Goals TV. That'll do it for us. Thank you so much for watching, and here's Nate Miller from Athletic Club Boise. Please welcome to the show the former manager of the Lansing Ignite and the San Diego Loyal. Most recently an assistant with Real Salt Lake of Major League Soccer, he is now tasked with leading Athletic Club Boise into their inaugural season in USL League One, coming up in 2026. Please welcome to the program, Nate Miller. Nate, thank you so much for making time for the show, man. How are you?
Absolutely. Great to be on with you, Riley.
Yeah, when Boise got the club, it's it didn't shock me, but it's one of those things where, like, I didn't know they had that kind of scene in Boise. And when I think of that particular city and that market, obviously the Broncos and the blue turf and all those things jump out to me. You've had enough experience and definitely quite the resume to be able to pick where you want to coach. When you looked at the Boise market, what screams soccer city to you?
That's a great question. Well, just like you, I hadn't, Boise wasn't really on my radar as far as a soccer city. And then I was really wrong. Boise is also changing a lot. So after my time in California and then Salt Lake, a lot of people are moving out to these cities like Boise, Idaho. And yeah, there's a few things that I had no idea that Boise was so hungry for the game until, when they approached me. And I just around that same time, seen all the news of them selling out their season tickets like 6 months before the ball was kicked. And that definitely turned my attention because that's not always the case. And it's also one of the reasons why, unfortunately, you see too many clubs folding around the country. And then when I was up there visiting during the recruitment process, what surprised me, what actually shocked me was the diversity in the city. So living here in that same mountain range, I did not expect it to be so diverse. You have the big Basque population. You have a lot of people that have relocated to Boise for a number of different reasons. Then you have kind of the tech hub moving there from California. So I think it's a much different city than it was 10 years ago. And it's also, technically part of the Pacific Northwest, and that has a whole different soccer vibe that's unique in our country. I've had the pleasure of, coaching away to Portland and Seattle, and these are soccer hungry places. And Boise has a lot of those same vibes. And so, and it's a growing city. I think Brad Stith, our CEO, told me it's the fastest growing city in the country,
Wow.
and just with a lot of young people moving there, all of those things combined make it maybe Soccer City USA now. And so it's really exciting, man. Honestly, just being there in every bar, there's already a Boise scarf. They're hungry for the game. And so it's all those things combined with a lot of other things that make you make a decision. Yeah, just make me really excited to move there with my family and to have the honor to lead a team that's its first professional soccer club in its history. So that's super. It's a big honor, but it's also a big responsibility.
Right.
Yeah,
We gotta get one of those Boise scarves in here in the studio.
yeah,
Got to work on that with the club.
yeah.
No, it lends itself to the question, like, how did this happen? And I think a really great example of it's where soccer's going now, and these smaller markets are getting these USL clubs, and you uncover these gems of American soccer. I talked about it with Hartford earlier in the season,
Yeah,
in obviously Portland, Maine, what they're doing up there.
yeah, yeah.
Boise's the next one, and it seems like with all the factors you just mentioned, it's in line for a very fantastic 2026. And having a college in in the same city is going to be
Yeah.
very helpful getting
Yeah.
folks to games. I think I think with Idaho, we before we talk about anything else, soccer, and this is a soccer show and all that kind of stuff. I don't know. I mean, you're a pretty fit guy. You're pretty thin. I don't know if you consume potatoes a lot, but are you excited for the different potato options available to you and your family? And if you had to pick one, what are you most excited for?
I honestly have no idea what the potato. I know it's known for its potatoes and raising potatoes. I will say, or growing potatoes. The restaurant scene that I was down there and experienced for a few days last week was amazing. But I actually didn't consume any potatoes. There was a lot of Basque food, a lot of cool restaurants downtown. But I have not. I'm not sure of all the different potato dishes that are out there. But we can have a look.
Hey, you're going to be there for a while. You're going to win a lot of games in Boise, Idaho. So
Exactly.
hopefully
Exactly.
that's the case. I mentioned Lansing Ignite in the intro. Obviously, you've done this before with leading a team through expansion. What did you learn from your time there? What are you bringing with you, and what are you going to leave behind?
Yeah, well, again, it's not just, I mean, Lansing was 1 year in 2019, and that feels like a long time ago now. But yeah, I've learned not just a lot from Lansing. That was an expansion team in USL League One in the first year of USL.
Right.
Before that, I was a college head coach. I've now coached in the USL Championship, now MLS. And I think the biggest thing is not just Lansing, I think that and San Diego is just w what is required to build a team from scratch. I don't know of anyone who's done three different expansion teams. Maybe I'm wrong, but it's a whole different skill set, it's a whole different challenge, but it's something I love because when you take a job at a club, you're usually going into a situation that's difficult, or you have players that don't really fit what your philosophy of how you want to play, or there's issues in the front office, or whatever it is. And when you have an expansion team, that's all set for you to build. Now it's overwhelming, it's a lot to do, but everything that you establish, every obstacle you overcome, it's a chance to establish culture and a way a team works and a whole club works and establish a whole high performance environment. And so for me, it's an opportunity to get things done right from the start. Initially when Boise approached me, I was kind of like, man, I think maybe I told them this is the kind of club I'd be interested in 2 years once you guys are in the championship or above. But then as more, information came and more, I kind of saw what the club was doing. My mindset changed. I'm like, I want to be part of building this thing right from the start. Like,
Right.
let's get everything right from the start because every person you hire, every player you sign, everything that you do has really long-term ramifications. And that's something that personally I love to do. I love to build things, but it's also something that is so crucial to establish the long-term health of a club. So that's kind of the reason why this move was done now.
When you are preparing to do this, do you ever take a look at what Portland did or Spokane did or Naples and Matt Poland, friend of the show, has done down there to have success right away with their roster construction? Obviously, you play a different style than a lot of those teams, but do you look at those clubs and kind of take that blueprint and what works in the modern USL League One?
Yeah, I would say it's completely separate. I know kind of what I'm looking to do. I know, I've been in the USL for quite a while, but in MLS
Right.
for quite a while. And I know the market really well. So one of the things that I love to do, I love watching football of all levels. So I'm very familiar with the leagues. One of the things I know the market very well. I know the player pool. I know, in my opinion, the player evaluations. And so I definitely keep a close eye on what those teams are doing. I mean, their competition. It's so cool to see what Portland, Maine has done. But as far as off the field things are concerned, like that's really not my purview. I look at it just like a fan, like anyone else. Like, wow, that's super interesting. I think what Portland has done is awesome. Like that is what lower league football should be, is a whole community loving their local team. I mean, that's awesome. But on the very technical side, as far as building a team, that's something I'm very comfortable with, and I feel like is a strength of mine. I know the market really well, and it's not just eh, when you build a whole roster, it's not just players, it's players that fit you and your identity. And I say this all the time to players. I was on a video call earlier this morning with a player, and I talked to him about how, it's the right player, right coach, right club, right time. And if one of those are missing, like there's good players out there that you don't know about because it's just not the right time for that player and that coach at that club. And so for me, it's just having a really clear idea of how to identify who's the right player for us, for our team, for our culture. and the puzzle of how all those players fit together. So yeah, I think there's some cool things. Like Matt's done a really good job in Naples, and I think that there's a lot of other clubs doing really great things. Yeah, like you said, Spokane's done a great job, and I think it'll be really fun to have like a regional rivalry with them. That's
Yeah.
always the league for sure.
And I mean, you're going to talk about available players, not to take a shot at them on this show, but North Carolina, plenty of great talent on that team now available for the rest of USL.
Yeah, two of
Um,
my former players on that team for sure. Actually, three former players on that team, and yeah, it's just so frustrating to see that happen. Honestly,
yeah.
it's something that as we talk about expansion and all this stuff, we have to, the powers that be, there has to be, we have to have some solutions to this yearly problem of clubs going away.
Yeah, and I understand expansion sometimes leads to regression with other clubs, but you hate to see it happen like that, especially for all those players who now have to go find a different place to live, and some of them have families. They got to move
Yeah.
all over this country. So hopefully that gets figured out in that standpoint, and maybe we might see a few of those guys in Boise. I don't want
Maybe, maybe.
to don't want to break any news.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
but you mentioned, you're not inheriting a roster, you're building one. This is not your first time doing this. This is definitely not your first time in this league doing this.
Yeah.
What is the first filter that you apply when you're searching for players to fit your very high pressing, very attacking minded, and
Yeah.
as you said, dominant style of football? What's the first thing you look for in a player?
Yeah, the first thing I look for is not a soccer player. I say this all the time, like with the players, it's always person over player for me. These relationships that you have every day with the players is why I coach. It's not, I think my reputation out there is probably a game model, a style of play, but the players that know me truly, they know that the personal relationships with them, the culture we build is the most important. So I'm looking for the right human being first. When the chips are down, when everything's on the line, like I'm picking 11 humans, men, not players. I'm picking 11 men. And so for me, I look for that first. So how do you know who's the right person? I mean, with the network, you establish over time. You're always a phone call or two away from having good references, but more than that too, when you watch a player, you can learn so much from body language, reaction to mistakes, how they treat teammates. These are things that the first thing, the non-negotiables that I look for is what's your attitude towards the game, towards yourself, towards your teammates. Can you lead yourself first? Can you lead yourself in difficult moments? So the human being is what I'm after first and foremost. That's why I almost, most of my hours out of the day right now are filled with video calls with players because I have to look them in the eye and know who they are. And so that's the first thing. And then after that, like the benefit of having such a clear idea and identity of how you want to play, there are good players that don't fit that, and that's okay. But it keeps your vision so narrow of what you're looking for. And I'm willing to be we're willing to be very patient in the market to make sure that we fill the right spots on the bus with the right guys. And because I've done this quite a few times now, I know that like there's such a big player pool in our country and internationally that if you don't find exactly what you're looking for, I'm not going to force it with someone. So I think having a clear idea of how you want to play, it makes it very simple to identify what you're looking for, and you don't get sucked into player recruitment that feels good in the moment, or this guy scored a certain amount of goals last year that doesn't fit who you are as a coach and who you are as a club.
And it's interesting that you mentioned the relationships aspects with players, because that's something we've seen from you, and it's gone very well. And I think about San Diego. I got this job at the very beginning of 2024, and the first thing I did was examine what happened to the loyal. And obviously,
Yeah.
you led that team the final year. There's this very great moment of you hugging Evan Conway at the
Huh.
end of the playoff loss, and it
Mm.
just seems like the relationship you had with that team bonded over the course of the season, obviously with the news. But what did that experience do for your relationship with these players, and how you've taken that forward into your assistant time with RSL and now into Boise?
That's a big question. I don't recall that picture. I'd love to see it. I think something that for me, again, like that wasn't just a 1 year thing. What we did in San Diego with Landon and everybody was like we were a really unique club. It's rare to have that same core of players for 4 years in the
Oh
USL.
yeah.
Like the USL is notorious for a lot of mercenaries guys going here and there, things changing all the time. a team can change 17 players from year to year. And we didn't do that. Like we had a core group of guys like Charlie Adams, Colin Martin, like Alejandro Guido, like Grant Stoneman, Tumi Moshavani. These were guys that we started with us and finished with us. And so it wasn't a 1 year thing. We'd been through so much. It was a beautiful city, beautiful club that stood for all the right things. And I think that those relationships were just built over such a long period of time and so much trust was built. And what I say all the time, I love going on a journey with players. It's my favorite bit. I mean, Evan Conway was a kid who, you know, started out at Union Omaha making pennies, and then just like showed his quality with the right attitude, mentality every day. And now he's like a top level elite USL championship striker. I think he could play in MLS. And so for me, like just being able to go on a journey with players and see them evolve as human beings and as players. And that year was hard, man. Like that year, because we announced it so early and we were such a good team that it was so hard because the players we had we were wanted by so many teams. And so these guys are going through a whole season, basically, maybe half a season. We're trying to win the whole thing. We're trying to win the USL because we have a top team and they're dealing with, teams and agents and players nonstop trying to convince them where they're going to be next year. And so the challenge with that team was how can we remain completely present and finish what we started and like put a bow onto something so beautiful that we had built. And that was a huge challenge from a leadership perspective. And I was a young coach, but at the same time, not many people had experienced a team folding, and I had. So like that's an experience. Unfortunately, it's a bit of a niche experience on your resume, but I knew what it was going to be like, and so I hope I was able to help players to manage that time in their lives in the right way.
I was on the outside from looking in during that time of USL, and to watch that happen live, and then to go back and read the story and understand what happened. It was a beautiful, beautiful
Yeah.
season that you guys were able to put together. And I've talked about it. Toomey was on the show. I've had Charlie Adams on the show.
Okay.
They talked about those things at the end of their time in San Diego, and
Yeah.
they had nothing but what wonderful things to say about the club and the
Yeah.
city. Because you have to separate the two, right? It's
Yeah.
ultimately not it's somebody's fault, but it's not the people that you love in San Diego's fault, and that's
Right.
something that I pulled away from those conversations. I'm gonna go back to the tactics for just a moment. You called this system that you use organized chaos, and it's asking a lot of players. But for the folks in Boise, Idaho, that's going to be watching this in 2026, can you break it down in layman's terms about what they're going to see each and every week?
I actually don't recall saying that. I think organized guys, I would say like, yeah, from a high pressing perspective, like you're going to see like a team that wastes no time waiting for the opponent. Like we're going to go meet the opponent as close to their goal as possible. And so I would say like our counter pressing feature of our game, meaning our transitional moments when we regain, like when we lose the ball, is when you see our team come alive from a counter pressing perspective, and that's kind of a hallmark of what we do. Yeah, we're going to be a team that is never okay with the opponent just having the ball. So we're going to be a team that plays with a high line and gets after the ball. And so that's a non-negotiable. It's something we work on every day. But from an in possession standpoint, like we're a team like, historically my teams have always been teams with lots of control. So we're going to be a team that is dominant with the ball. The distances between our players are very close. We're a team that wants to pin you in. And so with the ball, we're going to have like a very clear, you know, I would say possession identity, but I call it vertical possession. We want to play through the opponent and not slowly go around them. So the pace in which we play will be fast, but we're always looking to dominate the ball. So I think I think it's important to identify with the city that you're coaching in. I think that that's something that is super important in football. And so, from everything I've seen about Boise, it's beautiful. It's a wonderful place to be. It's got a lot of character, and we're going to look to play beautifully. But it's also a place that's traditionally had hardworking people. And when we don't have the ball, like I expect our fans to see us like running and getting after the ball and pressing the opponent. And so, as a coach, you always evolve. So there's little things that I've evolved and will change. But the whole like spirit or whole identity or the feel of our team will be like an evolution of what people have seen in the past.
It's a wonderful style to play. It's very, very demanding, but you've been proven in the past that it works. And to have the right players in the system, obviously you're going to build your roster rather than
Yeah.
inherit. So I can't wait to be able to watch you guys. One final thing, we'll get you ahead of here on this. Thank you so much for coming and hang out with us, Nate.
But
The end of next year, right? I know, long way away. What is one single metric that you're going to look to and say, we nailed year one of AC Boise?
yeah, I don't have any problem saying this. It's winning. Like we need to win. I have no problem going on record of saying this. I've said that all along. I wouldn't have made this move in my life, leaving MLS to go to a club that wasn't extremely serious. Something that I love about AC Boise is it's led by serious people, and people who want to win. And so, uh, for me, it's winning. I don't know if I want to put like a what that is, but like I want to come to Boise. We want to lift trophies. And so, for me, it's the first thing is, in a subjective measurement is did we get the culture right? Is this a player first like locker room that everyone knows that they're cared value for? Is this a high performance environment? Are we developing players? And therefore, because of all those things, are we winning? That's it. And this is professional sport. This isn't this is professional sport, and that's the expectation. I've lived a lot of different clubs now. I've seen a lot of different things, and what I know is I, all you don't just say you want to win. We're going to create the right environment, the right culture, bring in the right men, and bring in the right staff to make sure that we win. And that, with the support that I know we're going to have as a club, like packing the stands, that's not my prerogative. My prerogative is to create a product that is obvious that everyone would want to come watch, right? And so I want a great product with winning, and the last thing I would say is maybe it's a bit subjective or not tangible, but with a truly unique connection from the players, the team to the supporters. That's what I want, like a unique connection. That's something we did in San Diego, and people still talk about to this day, like a true love and connection with people. And that's why people love their football club when they not only win, but they feel a real connection to those players and to the staff. That will be success for me. Now that's a lot, but that's what we're here to do, man. And that's why we need great people around to help us do it.
And it's funny that you mentioned that. I just talked about that with Chris Gloster from New Mexico United, the connection he has with the folks in Albuquerque. You look at a place like Portland, the connection they have with their community. Um, I mean, it's a wonderful thing. Chattanooga just had a home playoff game. That was a wonderful atmosphere. Obviously, not the result they wanted, but they love the Red Wolves in
Yeah,
Chattanooga because that represents Chattanooga. There's very few things that represent Boise, Idaho,
yeah.
and you guys are going to be one of those things. And it's an absolute pleasure to be able to talk with you. I wish you the best of luck through your first year in Idaho, and hope to have you back on soon.
All right. Thank you, Riley. Pleasure.
Thank you so much to everyone with Boise for helping make this show happen. Nate Miller squeezed us in between a video conference with a player and another podcast, so we're incredibly grateful for that. And we're also grateful for you. You watching our show is how I continue to justify to Goals TV that I should be paid to do this, especially in the off season. So a massive shout out to you. If you like this show, you can find us on the internet. I am at Riley James IAC on Instagram and X. The USL on Goals Instagram account posts videos and reels of this show nearly every day. That's available again on Instagram. The parent company is at goals.tv on Instagram, at goals_TV on X. And there's many great creators making wonderful content about the world of soccer and everything in it. Available in www.goals.tv. That'll do it for us. Thank you so much for watching the show. For Nate Miller, I'm Riley James. If anyone cares,